Hey now on Sports Night.
Wilkes in the lane, hands it off, pretty pass.
We'll break down the Bulls' preseason debut, plus take a look at one local star who's trying to make the club.
There's nothing better in the world I'd rather win traded for anything.
A former Cubs skipper is up for a gig in the city of brotherly love. And no NHL, no problem. Hockey gets ready to start in Chicago. Sports Night, we don't pull any punches now.
Through thick and thin, you've got Jim Beam Sports Night. Hi there, everyone. Alongside Kerry Sayers, I am Pat Boyle. Wait till you hear what Phil Jackson said about Kobe in his upcoming book.
And Chris Chelios clearly has too much free time on his hands
Yes,
these days. Could a career change be in order? But first, the Bulls finally got to play someone else tonight. That team was the Celtics, Kurt Heinrich and company, opening up the preseason in Manchester, New Hampshire, a game you could see, or you saw, right here on Comcast Sportsnet. First quarter action, Tyson Chandler the miss, but Andres Nocioni there for the putback. The Bulls within 5. Rookie Ben Gordon off to a bit of a rough start. Throws the ball away there, much to the dismay of Scott Skiles, but hey, we knew there would be growing pains. Later in the quarter, Gordon on the drive called for traveling this time. Perhaps a bit of butterflies for the young buck.
Let's go to the second. Luol Deng missing the hesitation J there. Celtics counter quickly in transition. Tom Gugliotta, yeah, he's still in the league, filling it up there. Celtics up 8. A few minutes later, Frank Williams, much more on him later in the show, gets in all sorts of trouble, tries to drive again, baseline, throws up the awful shot here over the backboard.
Oh, goodness.
Through
Yikes.
thick and through thin. Later in the second, Chris Duhan's pass for Deng, stolen by Ricky Davis, and he crushes on the other side. Bulls trailed by 21 at recess.
All right, on to the third quarter now, much of the same. Inbounds pass to Gary Payton inside, who hits over Tyson Chandler. Celtics next possession, Paul Pierce from downtown. Celtics up 24 now. Then the Bulls trying to run. Heinrich to Eddie Curry, who loses the ball on the break. Oh boy, Bulls looking very sluggish and sloppy. Later in the third, the Celtics in transition. GP throws one up. Davis throws it down with authority. No contest tonight.
No, it wasn't. We go to the fourth quarter. Bulls trying to show some life. Chris Duhan for 3 there. Cuts the lead to 34 later in the fourth. Close to the century mark, rookie Tony Allen throwing it down all season. This one they prevail by 30. 104-74 is your final. Pierce led the way for the Celtics with 18, and Doc Rivers' coaching debut for Boston. Pierce 7 of 11, 3 of 4 from outside the arc. Tommy Smith led the way for the Bulls with 13. The Bulls had just 13 points in the second quarter alone, and Scott Skiles knows there's a long way to go for this young group.
They look like rookies. We expect them to take their lumps a little bit. I thought, Andreas, I didn't get him as many minutes. I thought he looked pretty good out there, considering his first game. And the other 2 guys had a little bit of deer in the headlights look, I thought, to them, which is totally understandable. As so often happens in the league, the most aggressive team wins, and they put it to us. We're just concerned because we didn't play near as hard tonight as we've been playing in practice, and that's something we have to talk about.
Well, just like the political process, everything starts in New Hampshire. Preseason game number 1 is in the books for the Bulls, and tonight's moderators, Tom Dorr and Johnny Red Kerr, have more from the site of tonight's primary.
All right, thank you. Boston Celtics got off to a great start in this ball game, and hold on, if you will, to win 104-74. And John, Boston, as we talked about, really ran the floor very well and executed their offense. They shot the ball well.
I thought their veterans did a terrific job, Tom. Paul Pierce was good. LaFrance was good. Gary Payton making his debut with this club led them an assist. And I think that they're farther along than the Bulls are, of course. The Bulls trying to find out who are pieces of the puzzle, who's going to start this thing, and who's going to be guys coming off the bench. So it was something for Scott Skiles to get all his guys in action. I'm sure he's made some decisions and some of the players already.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Tyson Chandler thought played pretty well, rebounded the ball very well. But Eddie Curry in 14 minutes scored 10 points, and John showed with some of that weight loss that we've talked about, he's going to be quicker. He got on the break in a play and really made some things happen, and we saw a little bit different Eddie Curry.
Eddie Curry is now 285, and he's slimmed down at 6'11", and he makes the nice move. He's always been good with that right hand. He's got that good little touch. Gets a nice pass underneath. He's got the extension that he can jump up and hammer it. But he makes that nice little move. I love that little right-hand hook that he has going to the basket. And he did a very good job. He had 10 points to be second on the Bulls. But Tommy Smith, I thought, from Arizona State, did a very, very good job of he got 13 points, and he gave him some scoring from that low post.
Yeah, he did. Played pretty well defensively. Gennaro Pargo came off the bench in the fourth quarter and played pretty well. I think the one thing that Scott wanted to do, Scott Skiles and the Bulls coaches, they wanted to see some people play that had not played, obviously, in the NBA before. Luol Deng, Ben Gordon, Andres Nocioni. And I think the Bulls got a chance to see those guys, and now it's going to be, okay, let's watch the tape.
That was a foul.
Another one from the ball game of 60-some fouls. All right, for Red, I'm Tom. Thanks. Let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, gentlemen, nice job. We got more from the Bulls on the way. A bit later, Chuck looks at the homecoming of Frank Williams. That's Chuck Garfron, the former Illini star who's trying to crack the crowded Bulls backcourt. I can just see it now. Dear Diary, you won't believe what Kobe and Shaq were fighting about at practice today. At times, the pettiness between the two of them can be unbelievably juvenile. It's that type of entry that Phil Jackson kept in his diary during the 2003-2004 season. Coming soon to a bookstore near you, The Zen Master Tells All. The book is titled The Last Season, A Team in Search of Its Soul. In the book, Jackson said his relationship at times with Kobe was a psychological war and that he tried to trade Kobe during the season. Phil said his relationship with Bryant was so stressful that he hired a therapist. Jackson writes that he was exasperated by the feud between Kobe and Shaq and that Bryant complained about the type of plane that the Lakers gave him to fly to his rape trial in Colorado. Here's more from Phil's book. I don't know if this will be in Oprah's book club or not. And a conversation he had with Mitch Kupchak. Quote, I won't coach this team next year if he's still here. He won't listen to anyone. I've had it with this kid. Nobody this year or in any year I've coached has received more allowances than Kobe Bryant. And Kobe did respond. We've had our tough times. We had our share of arguments, but I've always respected him as a coach. You just knew this type of topic would come up on today's installment of Chicago Tribune Live. Gentlemen.
We saw this coming, but I think it does tell me one thing, is that you don't have to win to sell a book. People were talking about the Cubs, they're writing a book about the Cubs, they had to win the pennant, they had to do this. You know what, the Lakers didn't win anything, and there are going to be a lot of people wanting to buy this book just because it unfolded like a soap opera, reality TV at its best. And I think that you're seeing glimpses of just how difficult it was on the ultimate guy who could handle all the egos and massage all the egos.
You know, Phil makes everything difficult. He made it difficult when the Bulls were winning. It was a constant war, this constant.
But you know, I think some of that was done for our consumption, though, wasn't it?
No,
Stace?
but that's what I'm saying. We don't know how much this is done for.
Oh, he said he went in and told him. He went in and told him it's him or me. You know, he said a couple of times, and he loved having Shaq there. Again, they had some things to get over, but he said he went in and maybe that was his downfall. He said either he goes or I go, and they said you go.
All right, no therapy needed out in South Bend. Nope, Tyrone Willingham sees the big picture. Notre Dame is 4-2 with the shot at doing some great things down the stretch. But first things first, undefeated Navy is next, and getting past them requires all hands and arms on deck. And ND will have them. Although Willingham has described Brady Quinn's status as anything from illness to getting dinged, we'll say what he won't. Quinn, in fact, suffered a mild concussion. His teammates, in fact, joked with Quinn about it today at practice, waving their hands in front of him and needling him. They said they could see in his eyes he wasn't all there last Saturday, but apparently he's back now.
I think Brady is fine, but I think what we have to do is always go through the normal steps anytime a guy has an injury, and this one requires that you just look at him, but I think he's fine.
So you're saying at this time you anticipate him playing this weekend?
Absolutely.
Well, that was Ty from his press conference this morning. If you missed any of it, stick around. We've got a special edition of Willingham Uncut later in the show. Meanwhile, Mike Williams, the former USC receiver, has hired an agent again. First time he did that, it got him banned by the NCAA. But Williams is sitting out the season, waiting for next year's draft when he'll likely be a top 5 pick. Not sure what he needs an agent for now, though, but maybe to get him some endorsements. Maybe.
Last night's 12-3 victory by Houston not only marked the end of Atlanta's season, but it also marked the start of Braves shortstop Rafael Furcal's jail sentence. He turned himself into the Cobb County Jail today to begin serving a 21-day sentence on probation violation. A judge decided last week to allow Furcal to participate in the playoffs despite a probation violation on a drunken driving charge. News out of Philadelphia, former Cubs skipper and current Mets batting coach Don Baylor interviewed for the managerial opening there. Mets are expected to make an announcement later this week in regard to their coaching staff, a move that will almost certainly affect Baylor. Only pitching coach Rick Peterson is expected to stay with the Metropolitans.
Former Hawk Chris Chelios is chasing another Olympic dream. He's been to 3 already, and if he makes it 4, he won't be wearing skates. Chelly has expressed his interest in joining the Greek bobsled team in 2006. Tomorrow, he takes the first step toward reaching that goal. He'll be out in Lake Placid training with the U.S. bobsled team, learning the fine art of becoming a brakeman. Yes, a brakeman. Meanwhile, Chelly is still working toward joining the Chicago Wolves. Luke Stuckmeyer has more.
With the NHL in a lockout, Chicago Wolves ticket sales are booming. These seats are going to be pretty crowded this season, but just imagine if one of the most popular Chicago hockey players of all time came back to the ice. This place would be packed.
It'd be fantastic. I mean, he's, you know, the quintessential Chicago Blackhawk. He was here for so long, and being a Chicago guy, everyone loved him. The city loved him. You know, he's a future Hall of Famer. To have him on your team, I mean, it'd be outstanding. I'm sure he would teach the young guys a ton of things, and obviously would make us a lot better team.
We're not going to pay him what the Red Wings are going to pay him. If he gets hurt, who has to pay him that? And that's where insurance comes into play. And the insurance industry doesn't look at it and say, well, this is Chris Chelios, this is a warrior, this is a guy who's played through this, that, and the other thing. They look at it and they say, okay, what's his birth date, right? 42 years old, okay, professional athlete, don't want to do it.
So in the meantime, Chelios is staying busy, training with the U.S. Bobsled Federation in Lake Placid, New York. His next dream, making the 2006 Olympic Games.
Well, yeah, I heard after the bobsled thing, but I don't know about that rumor. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, obviously, he'd be definitely welcome here, and you know, I think he'd enjoy it too. So, you know, whenever he wants to come, if he does want to come, then you know, we'll wait for him. So,
it'd be pretty exciting. You know, I've battled him a few times. No doubt he's good, but you know, till he's here, I guess all we can do is keep speculating like what's been going on.
So, after 9 seasons with the Blackhawks, the Wolves are working daily to find a way to bring him back to Chicago.
If we can make it happen, we're going to try. If he can make it happen, he's going to try. But, you know, there is realities in this game, and that's why everybody at the beginning said it was a done deal, but it wasn't a done deal. Certainly the concept was there, and the willingness was there on both parts, but until it happens, you know, I guess stay tuned for more information.
And if the Wolves can actually pull this off, it would not be the first time a former Blackhawk great wore the brown and gold sweater. Back in 1998, in their very first season, Al Secord joined the team, and he led them to the first championship in franchise history. Luke Stuckmeyer, Comcast Sportsnet.
Luke, thank you. Today, Chelios released this statement, quote, "I am looking forward to the experience of learning the ropes of bobsledding. I hope this is the first stepping stone on my way to making it to the next Olympic Games."
This boggles my mind.
Totally.
It makes no sense. First, it was difficult enough to see Chelios lead the Blackhawks and actually play for the hated Red Wings and win a cup there. But bobsledding, it just doesn't make sense. We'll see what happens. All right, time for us to step aside. When we return, we'll chronicle Frank Williams' homecoming. Maybe it's the boost his pro career needs.
Putting on the Bulls jersey is got to be, it's outstanding. It's outstanding. I can say that. It is very outstanding.
And a pair of local kids get a great honor. Gail Fisher has more on that next on Sports Night.
Sports Night on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you by Jim Beam. The stuff inside matters most.
Hey, Carl.
Hey.